We've had a partnership, as you know, with Ames Memorial United Methodist Church in Baltimore well before last year. This has been an ongoing partnership for several years now. And so, but this past year, it hasn't been just about the riots. It's been about the violence in Baltimore and wanting to make a difference about the violence in Baltimore and what's happening. So John started a ministry. I'm going to let him tell you about it. Let's hear from John.
I'm coordinating the college prep ministry at Ames Memorial United Methodist Church in Baltimore City. It's a joint ministry between Glenmar and Ames. And what we're doing is working with the young people up in Baltimore City to help bring some of the built-in mentoring and networking advantage that the kids in suburbia have to our young people up in Baltimore City. We're teaching them to network. We're teaching them to help get through college, through the financial aid, through the application process. We're helping tutor them to bring their grades up in class. And while we're doing that, we're building relationships. And there's a picture of our group up at Towson University for a school tour, for a football game hosted by Heather Veal, Taylor Burfine, a couple of young people who grew up here at Glenmar. I was up at Ames for a luncheon, and I met a young woman who said that she was concerned about the violence. Too many of the young kids, their parents were getting shot and killed, and she had adopted a young lady just for that reason. This young lady's mother had been killed, and she took the step of adopting her. And she told me that these aren't somebody else's children. They are our children. And I thought to myself, okay, well, what does that really mean? What is that saying to me? And when you start realizing that the suburban kids have different advantages and a different way of growing up than the Baltimore City kids, you start to think, well, what could we do to maybe make a change in that, to maybe bring some of the advantages that the kids in the suburbs have to the kids up in Baltimore City? So my son Tim's talked to me, and he said, Dad, when I was growing up, I didn't really have to worry about staying alive. I worried mostly about where I'd be going to school and where I'd be going to work afterwards. And as part of Boy Scouts, we were walking through the woods with different adults, and one of them turned out to be an architect in Washington, D.C., who became his mentor in architecture. And I thought to myself, this is an interesting thing that Tim had that some of these kids in Baltimore City don't have. Their network is a few blocks around them, not the span that some of the suburban kids had. And I thought, is there a way we can bring some of these ideas about giving them the permission to succeed, giving them encouragement, but also connecting them to a mentoring network like the kids in suburbia often have the advantage. The way God's working in this ministry is in the flow, okay? We're not doing some kind of structured situation that some of them might feel uncomfortable with. We're waiting for the moments that come up where we can share. Each volunteer can share something very personal about that moment related to his or her faith journey, and then the young people can respond and have a chance to engage. And so God is working through the normal flow, and as a result of these kids gaining confidence, seeing that we have their backs, seeing that we're looking at the world through their point of view, rather than trying to impose some different point of view on them, we're in the tunnel with them, then that gives God a chance to come through in these moments. And so we're bringing God to these young people in a way that's meaningful to them. So we have some volunteers at this program who are coming from all different walks. Some of them are teachers, some of them are academic advisors at the high school and college level. We've got engineers and scientists showing up. We've got all kinds of different backgrounds. And the main thing is, what would you do as a mom or dad, or as a peer, an older teenager, an older somebody in their 20s, what would you do if one of these kids belonged to you? It's just that simple. And all of a sudden, the talents start coming out. People realize they've got gifts to offer these kids that they may not have thought about. And these can include things like, well, taking one of the kids to work. One of these young people might benefit from going and seeing what you do at your work. It might be reaching out and touching a colleague. For example, Rob Nicolini asked one of his D.C. lawyer colleagues if she would host one of these young people, and we took her down for half a day. She showed her around and talked with her about what it means to be a lawyer. Gary Sutton has done the same thing with a retired FBI agent he knows who took one of our young people to the Baltimore City Courthouse and got to see a court case going on. He's going to host another person down at the Department of Treasury where he works later on in January. Mark Harden invited one of the young people to come down and see his creepy crawler collection at his house because this young person is interested in zoology. So we all have these gifts that we can bring, all these gifts that we can offer, and that's one of the things I can use is help build this network. I need a big network that these kids can benefit from. And my friends at Glenmar, my friends at work, all are part of this network. So It's about bringing these gifts and then starting to build a relationship with these young people and building trust. If you can come on Tuesday nights, that's great. But if you can help during the week, either online, with math problems, with tutoring, things like that, all those are the kinds of things we need. Sum it all up, these aren't somebody else's children. These are our children living up in Baltimore City. We've got lots of things to offer them, lots of things to bring them, and I'm asking, how can you help? How can you participate and help one of these young people see all that God meant that person to be?